Well, welcome to Cardboard Swords, and with the dust finally settling after the release of Dynasty, it's time for an instalment of the Player's Toolbox. Let's have a look at those Dynasty staples. Let's get in. Well, most Brute fans are pretty happy with their lot from Dynasty. The beaten trackers are a good addition to a Rhinar Blitz deck, enabling a little bit more consistency than those scabskin leathers. This is a great budget piece of kit that's also legal in Commoner, well worth a spot in your collection. But a real staple card that's made its way into most Brute decks, be it Leviat or Rhinar, is Skullcrack, a red pitch, 2 cost, 6 attack that if it's discarded at random gives you a resource, a fairly unassuming card that's seen a lot of play. Guardian players might not be quite so chuffed, the goodies for them were few and far between. However, Buckle is a card that is making its way into a lot of lists. It's kind of like a mini Tear Asunder, and Tear Asunder is in pretty much every list. Anything that does an impression of Tear Asunder is worth a look. And if Guardian players are feeling hard done by, Illusionist players will tell them that the grass isn't always greener. There wasn't a great deal in Dynasty that's making its way into Prism or Dromai decks, with lots of cards seeming to have a Spectral Shield Matters synergy. Maybe this is the groundwork for a new Illusionist on the way, perhaps in the newly announced Outsiders. Certainly the art direction in some of the cards hints at the pits. Well, Christmas definitely came early for Mech players, who got a whole sackload of tasty treats to upgrade their decks with. Enough treats in fact to see Dash propelled to the top of the meta. Now not all lists are running the Hanabi Blaster, but it's well worth a spot in your collection as it adds a new dimension to an already good deck. But one card that's seen play in pretty much every list is Pulsewave Harpoon. This card is definitely a staple for Mech players, and it allows them to have access to a disruptive effect that they haven't had access to previously. Another card making its way into a lot of lists is Scramble Pulse, which allows Mechanologists to mess with equipment and has good synergies with cards like T-Bone. While work continues to refine the meta-leading deck, these cards are well worth a spot in your collection. Ninja players didn't get left out either. They got access to Crouching Tigers so that Katsu can do his best Fi impression, although these are also pretty handy in Benji too. The thing about Crouching Tigers is they're a 0 cost attack with Go Again, so anthem effects like Roar of the Tiger are really essential. It'd be worth picking up the Tearing Shuko too, and probably a load of the other Crouching Tiger support that's in this set if that's going to be a theme of the deck you build for Ninja. Flexed Claws is one of these, a 1/4 attack with built-in Go Again that gives you access to another Crouching Tiger. If going wide with Tigers is your thing, then this was the set for you. As far as Ranger staples are concerned, it depends how much you buy into the Sandscour Greatbow. This is a bow that seems to work better with Azalea, and Azalea players seem to fall into 2 camps, the Death Dealer camp and the Sandscour camp. Whichever camp you're in though, it's probably worth picking up a copy of the Greatbow. Heatseeker is a card that's turned heads of both Azalea and Lexi players. The ability to spend your entire hand and still get an arsenal card is pretty irresistible for Ranger players. It also helps Lexi set up those big 6-card hands. Another arrow that seems to be doing a lot of work is Drill Shot, that doesn't necessarily need the aim counter to still have a big impact on the game, putting a -1 counter on a piece of equipment. Runeblade players got a lot of cards that enable them to take their deck building in different directions. One card that consistently keeps turning up in lists though is Deathly Duet. It's just a good solid Runeblade card that does everything that Runeblade wants to do. Looming Doom is a card that the jury were out on for a little while. That is until it was discovered that this combined with Spellbound Creepers enabled you to fire all your rune chants at an opponent and also gain the counters. It seems a little unfair, but that's just Runeblade doing Runeblade things, I guess. Warrior players got plenty of new weapons to play with, and new weapons are some of the most exciting parts of the game, enabling you to take your hero in different deck building directions. Jabeel's Spellbane is a sword that's already starting to make its way into sideboards for those wizard matchups, and the Quicksilver Dagger is enabling a value-based Dory deck that's starting to run rampant in the meta. Warrior players also got an axe, but we don't talk about the axe. Ironsong Pride has already become a bit of a staple in Dorinthia Dawnblade decks, giving Dawnblade a counter at instant speed and making it that all-important 4 breakpoint. Blue Precision Press has also made its way into some lists. It blocks 3, it pitches 3, and it's got some relevant text. All in all, there was plenty here for warriors to get their teeth into. And we'd better not forget those wizard players, although to be honest, it was only really Kano that got support here. Some low-cost arcane dealing blues, ideal for improving the consistency and ripping off the top of Kano's deck. And they also got a strictly better version of Scalding Rain in Aether Quickening. And getting strictly better upgrades is nothing to shake a stick at. I'll get my coat. And that about does it for the Dynasty Staples edition of Player's Toolbox. You might note that there's no Assassin cards here, and that's because, well, if you want to play Assassin, you pretty much need all the cards. It's also worth recognising that just because it's not a staple now, doesn't mean that a card won't be a staple in the future. It's still early in the meta, and there's plenty of sleepers out there waiting to be discovered. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please like and subscribe for gameplay and deck techs and everything else in between. If you do, we'll see you next time.